Greetings, this is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the lion's voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use I as an instrument to set the people free. Jah give all the powers to chant. Jah give all the powers to chant. Rastafari, the lion's voice.
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it takes the dust. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the lion's voice.
Yes, Jah people, this is Michael Shemai representing. I will say, hear the lion voice, saying it is time for the lions and the lionesses to tell their own story. King David killed Goliath with a stone, we original dread.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes, wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice, Rastafari.
It's AWTITUDE representing for the lion's voice. Yes, massive. This is the time for I and I, the lion, them to tell I and I story, our story. Yes, and we reign and rule like this. Reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, I reign and rule. You can't take the lion vibes, people. If you no fool, cause we know Selassie reign and rule. Reign and rule. Selassie, I reign and rule. Queen Omega drop them in the fire. Pull from them, no Queen Omega, she reign and rule. Royal Kushite, ancient essence, Emperor Selassie in a majestical presence, flash of all events, projecting through I and I events. We sing a song for the king, we bring joy and blessing and overstanding, yeah. We hear Jah every day. Reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, I reign and rule. Yes, I lion vibes, Selassie, I reign and rule. Attitude say that Boondocks, Black Organization of Noble Diplomats optimizing expressions to the world. Till the world, till the end.
Amina, the time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jaja soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up Lamb's voice. Now put it, I Jollifer said that.
I will never stop, hail the Most High, and I will never stop, call Rastafari. Blessed love, this is Kushite representing for the Lion's Voice. We are here to tell our own story, Rastafari.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to the lion voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Oh, yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.
Jano, I'm so hungry, bro. I haven't eaten all day. Like, my head started to hurt me too. Like, what more could I eat right now?
What about a city samosa? get your samosa, a fusion of Indian, Jamaican, and African culture. City Samosas, the best samosas in the city.
The second beast was given the power to give breath unto the image of the first beast so that the image could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed. It also forced the people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive the mark on their right hands and in their forehead. Gone down in the new world order, new world order. Have we work harder, have we pray harder. Babylon them coming with them microchip, and them prison cell, that's the new slave ship. New world order, new world order. Have we work harder, have we pray harder. Babylon them coming with them microchip, and them video game, that's the new matrix. It's a new world order. Them start bleaching, diverse doctrine, them start preaching. Angels for the stars they reaching, they're falling, never hear the lion calling. New world order, them fight against the poor. Machine and robot that sweep them floor. Machine and robot that run them stores. So them create disease ones without any cure. The new world order, new world order. Have we work harder, have we pray harder. Babylon them coming with them microchip, and them prison cell, that's the new slave ship. New world order, new world order. Have we work harder, have we pray harder. Babylon them coming with them microchip, and them video game, that's the new matrix. It's a new world order. Them pan cell phone, families don't even talk in their home. Village farmers get murdered by drones. Village mistress get murdered by stones. New world, so you better call Tyrone. Tell him prepare to use the whole earth a war zone. New world, Satan must feed the throne, so we must exit us and leave him alone. The new world order, new world order. Have we work harder, have we pray harder. Babylon them coming with them microchip, and them prison cell, that's the new slave ship. New world order, new world order. Have we work harder, have we pray harder. Babylon them coming with them microchip, and them video game, that's the new matrix. It's a new world order, check the energy. Make it so hard we go have a family. Man, woman and child, well that are the trinity. Preserve the bloodline, Solomonic dynasty. Vatican them say you be that them malice and them thief. Harvest and them reap for the global elite. As when the elder him said, don't you weep. The lion destroyed.
What do you have to tell the people about Rastafari?
Light to the world. King of kings and the conquering line of the tribe of Judah. I like himself. Where's rightful ruler? Hey yo! Yeah. Hear them high, hear the black king on the 23rd of July. So tell them guy who praise God up in the sky, it's a lie. The Almighty living on your night. From ancient time them a try. Them Romans know them just open them suit and ties. Criminals ain't got no alibi, they stole my people. Then them comes without them genocide.
Are you talking about slavery?
Them couldn't kill the lion we come conquer Judah tribe. Go through tribulation, and I strive, see sufferation, and I still rise. That's why we tell them in America, live Rastafari in every ghetto area. We come to tell them in a Toronto, straight to Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of his chosen queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Bonsu, aka DejazmatchKwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man. I'm a creative industry attorney. I'm an author. I'm an artist. I'm an actionist. And right now, I am the host of Lion's Voice Live. Welcome to the Lion's Voice Live, and welcome to the Lion Voice Network, where the Lions are telling our own story. Today we have a episode that I think will cause the world to talk a little bit. We're going to be talking about, should white people be supporting African liberation, and should they be supporting this Lion Voice Network? And this was inspired by a comment that I read by one of the Lion Pride, and I'm going to go through that comment on this episode. It was very extensive. The Bridget wrote an essay, and as he always does, because it's someone that I enjoy reading their comments. So we're going to go through his comment. It's a German Bridget from out of the European descent, and he made a comment that resonated with and I said, you know what, I need to address this issue. And then as we address it, it brings up the wider topic. When you have a platform that is explicitly reaching out to people of African descent, I'm very clear, that we reach out. Rastafari, Pan-African family, I emphasize that over and over. And you would see by the guests that the guests are 100% of African descent. All of these things are very intentionally done, because one of the things that that was in my iris is I wanted to build a platform to feed the root of Rastafari. Looking at the landscape and everything that's out there, I know it would be a lot easier to take a more commercially acceptable and comfortable route. But I said there has to be something to feed the root. We want to build a platform with generational impact. I want to be a part of something that is historical within the Rastafari movement in terms of its scope. Now, and what we'll address on this episode is that doesn't mean that we're anti-white or that white people can't support. And I want to also acknowledge we already have people of European descent as members of the Lion Pride on Patreon, members of the Lion Pride in general. So, this platform, in going for the niche, we want to show how we become universal, for people of goodwill, for humanity. But that doesn't mean that we're going to water down the platform or center anything other than the focus of the platform, which is Black Rastafari and Pan-African family. And again, because we want to water that root, Rastafari roots are Black African descendants who were rising out of the Pan-African movement, not separate. The earliest Rastafari are coming out of the Garvey movement, coming out of the nationalist movements in America, Ethiopian nationalists, who were looking at the rise of Leech Tafari Makonnen as prophetic and a divine occurrence. So we want to hold that road in terms of a public platform. That part of the chad has grown. That's the root. And from the root, there are many branches, and we celebrate the branches. We celebrate the fruits. But again, this platform is about the preservation and the strengthening of the roots of Rastafari. So I'm going to address the comment of one of the Lion Pride members, because he said, I would support the platform, but I'm of European descent. So, I'm not going to support. So I want to, I think it's a healthy reasoning. So we want to discuss, beyond just that, the role of white people in African liberation. This is African Liberation Month, and we are dealing with all things African liberation. If you haven't seen our latest upload, we had the first Rastafari from Nigeria on the platform.
that's ever been on the platform. Straight born and raised in Nigeria, one of the elders of the Nigerian Rastafari community, current PR person and representative to the Rastafari Continental Council, Honorable Mike Pam. So if you haven't seen the first clip from that episode, it's dropped. The full episode is available for the Lion Pride on Patreon. And before that, we had Ras Ahuma Daddy Basco Akansi from the Ghana Rastafari Council. We are highlighting Rastafari from the continent. I have a nice reason with a Rastafari bridge from Burkina Faso. We're working on that. So we're going on the continent, finding the Rastas born and raised to get their perspective, because we can't have a platform we say is Pan-African Rastafari, focus on Rastafari of African descent, and we don't have the voices of Rastafari on the continent. So we're gonna be highlighting that. So if you haven't seen those uploads after this live, go check them out. We are racing toward our 40,000 mark. We're gonna have a special episode where we invite the Lion Pride. We'll put the link in the chat, and we allow the Lion Pride to come up and with us reason, and we celebrate. We do that every 10,000, and we are approaching that. We'll probably hit it before Wednesday, so I'll announce when we'll do that special episode. Before we get into the topic, let me just big up the greatest online community on the planet, the Lion Pride. Big up all of the Lion Pride, whatever your race, your creed, your culture. From you resonate with this channel, you subscribe with this channel, big up yourself. Almost 40,000 strong. We knew that it would grow like this, but we have so much more work to do. We're just getting started. We're still babies growing, but I want to big up everyone who has supported the Lion Pride. Big up all my Lion Pride on Patreon. Make sure you check in when you come in live to all of my Lion Pride on Patreon family. Drop a comment. Just let us know you're here. Let's represent. I was able to meet some of the Lion Pride on Patreon. We had a town hall meeting. It was so powerful, networking on the next level. So big them up, and the level of their professions and what they do is what's so impressive. And again, I have Lion Pride on Patreon of European descent, so don't feel like this is an exclusionary mission. Just because we have a direction and a focus. No. We're just very clear at what we come to do, what our lane is, and we're staying in that lane. But we embrace everyone, because we're going to need everyone to win this victory, of what's happening right now. Babylon divide and rule. We say divide and love, because we have to divide those people of every race that are with love and that stand for love, and bring them on our side. So we're not turning away those that come with that perfect love. And His Majesty is the example. So, as you know, when we go into this topic, I'm going to go into the history of His Majesty. We're going to look at how His Majesty deal with white people. So it's going to be a nice episode tonight. It's going to be lively. I know the chat will be lively as well. Again, we're going to be reading a comment from one of the Lion Pride out of Germany. One of my white brothers from Germany wrote an essay in the comments, and we're going to read his essay and get into the mind of our this is a Lion Pride member, authentic, because this is not the first comment. Every time he write a comment, it's a long comment. And he's been with us since early, so I know he's not a fair weather Lion Pride member. This is one of the brethren that will watch all of the videos, comment, give, and I always value it. No matter how long the comment, I take time and read it. And you'll see when we look at the comment, it's not a short reasoning, this brethren, though. Long reasoning. Big up yourself, Brother Benji. But the whole premise of the comment, as I said, some very salient points. You know, he was pointing out how come the Lion Pride is almost 40,000 people and only 35 people in the Patreon, and you know what I mean. He would support, but he's a European, so he don't feel like it's his place to support. So we want to touch all of that tonight. The role of people of, and not just European, but we have Japanese, we have Indian, South Asian, we have Chinese, and I feel I'm uniquely qualified to talk about this subject. Why? Because I grew up in Toronto, Canada, which is the multicultural capital of the planet. I grew up with my school was like United Nation growing up. You know what I mean? So I have white brethren who I've known since third grade that are still my brethren. You know what I mean? Indian brethren, Pakistani brethren, Chinese brethren. We have a brethren who live in Shanghai right now. You know what I mean? We have brethren of all types all over the Caribbean. So I feel that I am uniquely positioned, even though I was born in Jamaica, I left as a baby and went to Toronto. So I feel like I am uniquely in a position to talk about, you know what I mean, how white people can support African liberation, or should white people support African liberation? This is a question Malcolm X struggled with. This is a question that enough people in the movement, this is where Rastafari, you know, the divergence with black nationalist Pan-African community. I just did an interview with a black nationalist for I Never Knew TV talking about whether Rastafari should follow Marcus Garvey teachings or His Majesty teachings. And this was one of the points the brethren brought up, is that black nationalists are just for black people to, you know what I mean, have their own place and these things, and Rastafari, because we embrace, you know, Europeans or some Rastafari, that, you know, there's a big difference. And this is one of the rifts that can be wedged between Rastafari and the Pan-African family. So it's a very important question. You know, we have mansion like the 12 tribe of Israel that have many European members. You have Orthodox who have many European members. You know what I mean? So it's a question that comes up, and as the platform grows, I know that it's a question that's going to continue to come out. So tonight, family, we're going to deal with, should white people support African liberation? Should white people support the Lion Voice Network? And by white people, we mean people of all races. We're saying white people, but it can apply to Chinese, Japanese, everyone. You know what I mean? Let me first say that everything that we do here on this channel, we look at His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I as the example. Lean not to our own overstanding. We're going to use the king to set a framework. And if you're just joining us, we're going to be going into my comment section. I had a comment from one of the Lion Pride, one of my European Lion Pride members, who, you know, made some comments that I want to address. So we're going to go through, he wrote an essay, and we're going to go through and just read it, because this is the community that we're building. This is a journey. If you want to go far, go no, you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, you go with many. So this journey that we're making to evolve this platform into a premier world-class media institution is not just I'm taking the whole Lion Pride, and we're rising together. So when a Lion Pride member take his time and pen out a long comment essay, you know what I mean, I want to just share it with the family and address, should white people support African liberation? Should they support the Lion Voice Network? You know what I mean? Or is this just for black redemption? That means only black money should spend on the platform. We're going to address that today. Before I do that, I want to big up the Ubuntu Lion Pride. We had a new member join us, Ras Maki, out of Maryland here just joined the Ubuntu Lion Pride. That's for contributions of $70 and above. One-time contribution gets you a lifetime membership into the Ubuntu Lion Pride. I am because we are, and that price keeps going up. We started at 50, we're at 75. For this phase, we're at 75 until July 1st. It's going to go up to $100, and that's the one-time attribution, because these are the ones who see the vision, of what the platform is going to be. So we want to memorialize them forever, in terms of these were the ones who, gave a investment to help to push the platform forward. So we big up the Ubuntu Lion Pride. I think I'm thinking about having them also join our town hall meetings maybe once every quarter. So we bring, have a bigger unity within the town hall meetings and think for the Patreon family. But any support, we big it up. You have some people who just do the super chat, they just $1, $2 through the YouTube. We love that. Zelle, CashApp, all of those things you can use. You see it scrolling, you can use them to support the platform as we grow. We're approaching 40,000. But we only have 35 people in the Patreon, and the brethren wrote about that, and that, it struck a chord. Me not gonna lie, it made me feel a little way. So I said, let me bring it to the family, what the brethren was saying, because I had some good points in there, in taking time and in pen out a long comment, brethren out of Germany. We're gonna go to that shortly. So big up all of the Ubuntu, big up all of the Action Lion Pride, big up the Watch and Peep family. We are drinking from Ramia King Design, big up Rastlage. When I'm sipping my water during the episode, we're supporting Rastafari business. We say live Rastafari, we also say shop Rastafari. We're getting ready for the Association of Rastafari Creatives. Go to rastafaricreatives.com. We're having an event next Sunday, a membership drive. We are mapping the creative industry for Rastafari, so make sure you tap in if you're a Rastafari in the creative industry. Agriculture is also included. Go to rastafaricreatives.com, click on products and services. You see our directory. We are creating a platform to, again, market Rastafari goods and services. We are saying shop Rastafari, buy Rastafari, make the dollar circulate amongst Rastafari. It's so crucial. We are going to again touch a controversial topic tonight. So I know I'll see the Lion Pride in the comments. Feel free, we're interactive. This is Lion Voice Live, so you feel a kind of way, you can type in the comments. Let us keep it interactive. I want to hear from some of the White Lion Pride members, in the comments. I have to big up Empress Jenny Fire, our Lion Pride on Patreon. She was a member for some time. She's still a member on the free side. She's a sister of European descent, gave us a lot of strength, So we have a history on this channel. Nick Makers, big up yourself. Akashic Records, big up yourself. Sister Zena, big up yourself. You know what I mean? We have a few that, have been with us for months and months, some over a year, quietly supporting the platform. So we have never said that white people cannot support the channel here. However, as I said, the focus of the channel is always and always will be African, people of African descent, Pan-African movement. We are here to strengthen the root. That doesn't mean down the line we won't have guests that may be of European descent talking on a topic. We're planning something coming up in terms of a tribute to one of our elders. So definitely we will have that, but our focus on the platform will always be the roots of the movement, the Chad, because when we look at the landscape, we don't have a lot, and we have to preserve it for our youth. The blackness of the Chad, the rootical essence of this Rastafari Chad, and make sure that we hold our space within our Pan-African family. You know what I mean? That why is key. We cannot separate from the liberation of Africa. That's why I put them together. Should white people support African liberation and the Lion Voice Network? Because if you support this platform, you're supporting African liberation, because we're not separating ourselves from the liberation of Africa, not there at all. You know what I mean? That is our orientation from that time until this time, and that is what His Majesty stood for. So that's what we're talking about. Big up Wally King's graphic and design, big up Frontline Books, big up our youth entrepreneur, City Samosa, all of our Lion Pride in Kingston, Jamaica, in general. Make sure you support our youth entrepreneur at Veggie Meals and Wheels and the various events around town. If you see City Samosa, make sure you buy out the inventory. Let's put this young entrepreneur under stress and strain of supply and demand, and circulate that dollar. And remember that we are opening our platform. We have a youth entrepreneur program. If you have a Rastafari youth under 20 and they have a product or service, they're building their brand, we offer advertising with no cost here on the Lion Voice Network. This is a community platform. So if you have a young person and they have anything, we are offering no charge advertising space. We want to highlight our young entrepreneurs. So big up all of our young entrepreneurs in the place. Also, big up brother Carl Philpotts. Where's my book here? And brother Carl said he's going to give me a new book, and we're going to have the link up shortly where you can support. I'm just priming the pump. Our latest sponsor, brother Carl, selling his book, I Am the Reading Ras. And also stay tuned for our next episode of Reading Ras on the Frontline featuring Sekou Tafari. 3 books that we're going to be bringing forward for June. So stay tuned. All right, so let us get into the topic. Housekeeping out of the way. Let me see who's here early. Let's bubble. White people have always been sympathetic to Pan-Africanism based on their civil human rights violations against Black African people, Holocaust globally. They, as all religions, especially Quakers, etc., definitely true. Johnny Johnson, and we're gonna get into it. Don Coolio, so big up yourself. Yes, I Rasquasi with Deya. So the topic for today is, should white people support African liberation, Black liberation? All right, let's go into the history of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. This was one of the things that, one of the reasons why a lot of the Pan-African community are very hesitant when they look at His Majesty dealing with European powers and the photo ops and things. And we see even today with Ibrahim Traore, and you see Vladimir Putin, and you see him dealing with the bigger power structures. What I would say to people is, first of all, His Majesty had to play chess. His Majesty was never not familiar with Europeans. He had European tutors. Ras McConnell ensured that he was exposed from a young age. He learned French from his tutor from Guadeloupe, Dr. Vitalien, who was a Black man, as far as I know. You can correct me if that's not correct. But he had other tutors that were of European origin. So Europeans were not strange to His Imperial Majesty. Ras McConnell, his father, had traveled to Europe, to Italy, and had seen European civilization, which is why he felt it was important to expose his son to European civilization. Menelik II was also familiar, although he had never traveled outside of Ethiopia, but Europeans were in the royal court, so he would have been hearing about Europe since he was a young prince in the court of Emperor Theodros. So European civilization has always been there. They're the good, the bad, and the ugly. When we see how His Majesty deal with Europeans. It's mostly from a practical perspective. And one of the key things that we have to distinguish is that his Ethiopian pride is not extinguished because he has European allies. And that is something I want us to really overstand. That means that he's no less of a black nationalist in terms of what he represents for Ethiopia, for Ethiopians, Africa for the African. This was part of Haile Selassie DNA. You know, you'll see I have a reasoning with a black nationalist brethren coming up on I Never Knew TV, and he refers to His Majesty as a globalist. And while I can see the because the scope of Haile Selassie is global, I think we have to be careful in terms of what that term means in the modern instance today, globalist and the one world order, new world order type of neoliberalism, meaning that they want to privatize everything, the oligarch class, all of these things that are associated with globalism. That is not the model of His Majesty. His Majesty in Ethiopia, Ethiopia had institutions that were run. You would look at it as a hybrid model, just somewhat like China, somewhat like other nations, where it's a hybrid. You have national industries, and then you also have a vibrant private sector. So it's not one or the other, you know what I mean? And then you also have the church operating as a major landowner and player in the economy as well. So it's not one or the other, it's a hybrid of many. So I wouldn't call His Majesty a globalist. However, His Majesty stand for Ethiopia for the Ethiopian straight, Africa for the African straight. So just because you see him with a Winston Churchill, if you look at the thumbnail for this video, I have Winston Churchill bowing before the king. He had many Europeans that serve His Majesty. Some of them tried backstab him too, and he was familiar with that. But his lane, his role, as the king of all kings, conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, was to bring that unity, was to usher into a new era of human existence, overcoming petty prejudices, to become a member of a new race. So this is why, I hail him, because he's worthy to be praised. I wouldn't have that forgiveness, we would have a lot of anger stored up against Europe, against the people who enslave I forefathers. Is the love that we see exemplified by Kadamari Haile Selassie that makes us unique, and that one love is what has spread across the planet, and caused Rastafari to spread without any, evangelical movement, without any gun to the head conquest that permeates other world religions. Rastafari is spreading through word, sound, and power, through harmony and melody, music. If you look at our episode with the Honorable Mike Palm out of Nigeria, he said he was, Rastafari rose within him through the music before he ever met another Rastafari person. Listening to reggae music and doing his own study brought him to His Majesty. So that is how Rastafari has spread. And it's not only to black people, white people have been impacted. Japanese people have been impacted, to a lesser extent, people in India. But wherever the sound goes, it rises up once, and there's nothing that we can do to stop that uprising. If we are confident that He's the Almighty, then we should not be surprised when other nations embrace His Majesty and rise. To I and I, that should not be surprising. If we are confident that He is who He says, He's not just creator for black people. He's a manifestation of the Almighty in flesh and bone that sit upon King David's throne. If we're confident in that, then don't be surprised when Japanese man hail Him, white people hail Him, Indian people hail Him, all nations bow down before Him. It was written, and we see it come manifest. So why should we be afraid? So that is a reality, and how do we deal with that? Shows our character. Now, that being said, we as black people have unique wounds that we have to address. We have unique, and I don't say trauma. I reasoned with an elder, and he said, "Don't say trauma." I'm going to put up that interview. The audio is not the best. I'm trying to work with it. Big up, you see, Akashic, big up yourself. This is one of our Lion Pride and Patreon brethren of European descent. And we reason about these things, and he seems to balance because what we're dealing with is how it should be. And this is the path to world peace. World peace is not about assimilation and trying to make everybody into the same thing. That's not the Zion on earth that we conceive of. And this is why I love my upbringing in Toronto. In Toronto, they have the whole concept of the salad bowl. America, they work off of the melting pot where they want to melt everybody into one, which does not work well because it's an erasure of idea to a homogeneous zone. In Canada, they say this is a salad. That means each ingredient have its own flavor, its own spice, and it creates, together a whole vibration. And I like that model because the diversity is where you have the strength, and that's where the beauty of the creator can be seen. When we go to different countries and we see their unique cultures, we're made better. We don't want a uniculture around the world. You know what I mean? That is not the goal. We want to see this whole thing balance. You know what I mean? In terms of Africa strong, Asia strong, Europe strong, South America strong, North America strong, the whole continent, the whole earth, you know what I mean, in peace and harmony. And we're not far. His Majesty set the foundation. It's just that the elites went in a different direction. But their time is coming, you know what I mean? And we're just preparing to get out the way, until they remove themselves in this judgment. Their time is coming. His Majesty set the framework for this peace on earth that we're talking about, and it wasn't homogenized. It wasn't we're giving up our African identity to become part of the non-aligned nation. No, it was we are strengthening. And if you read His Majesty's speeches to education to the students that he sent abroad, this is a very good indication. In the selected speeches, he said, when I sent you to Europe, to France, to England, or in America, it wasn't so you come back here as Americans or Europeans or Englishmen. I sent you to take the good things from Western civilization and put them together with your own traditions so that we can rise the living standards of Ethiopians. So that is the principle that we operate on as Rastafari. It's not for us to try to become European. It's not for Europeans to try to become African. It's for us to understand each other, come together, work together, and build up this Zion on earth together. Two examples. If you look at the thumbnail for this episode, I chose Sylvia Pankhurst, and then we have Edward Ullendorf. These are two. You can't get whiter than these people that I'm mentioning. One come out of the elite, the British elite. One being of Jewish descent out of Germany, who lived in Palestine in the 1930s. Moved to Eritrea. His Majesty chose this brethren to translate his autobiography, to write, help him to draft and write the autobiography. You know what I mean? So, two key figures in Rastafari history, Sylvia Pankhurst, coming from an elite family. If you haven't seen our episode with Ras Benji out of the UK, I would say go watch that episode. He gives a very beautiful history of Sylvia Pankhurst and her family coming out of the women's suffrage movement. One of the most faithful servants of Kadamawi Haile Selassie I. She's a European lady. So, when we look at practical examples how His Majesty is dealing with Europeans, we see does that mean that Ismail have a white girlfriend and Ismail is following back a white people? No, Ismail have Empress men and his Ethiopian woman. You could marry anyone around the world. You choose an Ethiopian woman. You have him Ethiopian youth, them. You have him Ethiopian nation. He's building an Ethiopian culture. You know that doesn't mean that it's walled off from the rest of the world. You know, and I think this is where there may be some difference. Some who claiming black nationalism. You know, what happens after the victory is won? You know, how do we deal with the rest of the planet? You know, when the victory is won, this is, you know, not contemplated in terms of how that looks. And Rastafari, I think we have a clear vision of how that looks in terms of the harmony between all peoples, nations, kindred, and tongue. Because we saw the example, every nation on the planet contributed to the building of Ethiopia. When His Majesty go to a nation, he negotiate if it's a school, if it's a clinic, something, if it's a sidewalk, you're gonna come and build something in Ethiopia. And in return, if we have Ethiopians that can offer assistance, we'll do that. Mutual trade. This was the example Kadamawi Haile Selassie I set around the world. So it's with this example that we lead, you know what I mean, as a black family. And that doesn't mean, again, that we water down the root. And that's very careful because, you know, a lot of the stereotype is you have a Rasta man come, you have a white woman, he's talking all this black nationalism, but he's not living, you know what I mean? And that exists, but that is not the root of this chad, you know what I mean? The Jesse Congo root of this liberty, the black family, the preservation, the liberation of Africa, South Africa in particular, that you know resonated off of the liberation sounds coming from Rastafari creatives from Jamaica through reggae music, the soundtrack of African liberation and African unity created. These were coming from the root that was expressed. The best time for this was the 70s. If you listen to reggae music from the 70s and you hear some of them sound there from Rastafari creatives, you get that Pan-African essence of this trad. You know what I mean? Some great music you can find on YouTube. There's a mix on YouTube, the summer of '77. I listened to that mix. It was the year I was born, so you know, I'm partial. But when you hear some of these redemption songs, you know what I mean? This was the root that caused Rastafari to spread to the four corners. And we don't want to lose that, and we have to feed it. And if we don't feed it, and we try to go too universal, then we risk watering down, and then it have no impact, no punch. And then when I'm youth like Ibrahim Charori rise, people not associating Rastafari with this uprising, even though we laid the groundwork all over the continent. Most African youths, the first time they hear about a united Africa is in a reggae music song. You know what I mean? Afrobeat's not singing about no one Africa right now. It's I and I in the diaspora, the live aspora that have been, you know, championing that sound. So we don't want to get it confused that we are not a part. When the time come now that the whole Africa is rising, we don't want people to feel like this is a hippie movement. You know what I mean? And in terms of should white people, and we're gonna get to a comment written by one of my Lion Pride out of Germany. The brethren wrote an essay. We're gonna go through line by line. It's gonna be nice in terms of what he wrote, because I want the family to see, and he struck some points, you know what I mean? So I wanna I thought it would be a good exercise for the Lion Pride family to go through what the brethren is saying. And one of the things he was saying is that he would support, you know what I mean, but because he's of European descent, he don't feel comfortable supporting. So I want to dispel this type of energy. You know, we welcome all nations to support the movement. We're just not centering any other voices right now other than Black African descent voices, and that's because these are the voices that need to be heard right now. That root has to be watered, it has to be nurtured, it has to be preserved, has to be uplifted, it has to be highlighted. And I was called by Kadamawi Haile Selassie the first to fulfill that work in this time, so me not deviate from that work. That doesn't mean that I don't love my white brethren and sistren, my Japanese brethren and sistren, my Indian brethren and sistren. We have a portion of Lion Pride from Libya, from North Africa. The analytics show us that consistently. I see some Arabic, sometime content, brethren, So don't feel like in North Africa, the youths them not listening reggae music and hailing up His Majesty and these things when His Majesty mediated the conflict between Algeria and Morocco and them things. So the bother feel like this thing limited, you know what I mean? So we are like that. We are growing. We are the largest Pan-African institution. And as I said, we want to water that root and nurture that root and make sure that root is strong so that the branches can be strong. And we have other platforms that can interview, you know what I mean, other Rastafari of other voices and things. And maybe one day we'll get there. But right now, I feel that urgency to elevate I voice as the Black Rastafari, who most of I are not financially well, and we want to create that platform and that economy for I. Now I know if I'm looking at it from a marketing standpoint, this is the worst business plan because I know my people take long to support, you know what I mean? And the brethren makes mention of that in his comments. So we're going to look through those comments, because the brethren say, you have 40,000 Lion Pride and only 35 people in the Patreon. Well, go on, and I agree. But I knew that coming in, I knew that it was going to take longer to build the trust, to build that culture of giving amongst the whole concept of the crowdfunding and these things. It's going to take longer when you targeting Black Rastafari in particular, because we've never done this before. So I know that going in, and one of my spiritual gifts is patience. And anyone who know I'm a patient brethren. I'm not an emotional brethren. So that's one of my gifts, to just be there, consistent, you know what I mean, working with the people till we can build this up. And that's why you hear I say that this platform is historic, because what we do with this platform is going to change the whole trajectory of the movement. I don't say that to big up myself like anything. I just know that that's the mission I was called to execute, and I don't plan to fail. And His Majesty is with and I know that every day, and the things that we have coming up, I think confirm these things. We are one of the first platforms that are going to be bringing so many voices of our Rastafari brethren and sisters who live, born and raised on the continent, and mix them with our prominent voices of our artists and our workers, you know what I mean? So that the full glory of Rastafari can be on display. You can see a Luton Fire one day, you can see a Honorable Mike Pam out of Nigeria another day, you can see a Homer Daddy Basco one day, you can see a Kabaka Pyramid the next day, you know what I mean? So we're mixing up our more popular Rastafari voices with those who are doing the work, those who are building the integrity worldwide, but may not get the highlight. I'm putting it in one place so that the world can see. And I know that it's going to take longer than if I just focus on artists, or I just focus on controversy, or I just focus on, he said, she said, and petty differences and these rumors that I hear and things gone viral. I know that could bust me, you know what I mean? And my pockets them could be well fat, you know what I mean? But that was not the mission I was called by the Most High to execute. We were called to change the trajectory of the Rastafari movement, to connect the workers them, to build the media infrastructure for the new heaven on earth that is emerging to make way and prepare for the golden age of Rastafari. That was I Am calling. And that is what you see being executed here. So it's going to take a little bit more time for the item to, you know, get that inspiration to say, you know what, I'm going to join the brethren and we're going to shake up this place. I know that. And my Lion Pride and Patreon, these are just, I could see why they were Lion Pride and Patreon, because they are all visionaries. They see the vision that I articulated, and some came on when we had 500 subscribers, or less, and they were there, they did not know we'd even reach where, but they had that faith, so I know that's my calling. But again, we're going to read the comment, we're going to see what the brethren say. Before I do that, let me just read some comments here. Johnny Johnson said, bro, Ras, madman from 12 Tribe of Israel, first came to Jamaica January 1975. Oh, that's probably Godman. I met him in person, now a leader of the 12 Tribe in Shoshamani, Ethiopia, a white Jew, Ashkenazi from NYC. Okay. Godman, Ras Larry of 12 Tribe of Israel International. I knew Ras Larry too. I met him a few times. And that's why I said the 12 Tribe, Ethiopian Orthodox, they do have a plethora of members of European descent. So I have always had that in some of the Rastafari mansion and organization. So in terms of the comment, producer, are we ready? Can we bring up this comment? I want to big up brother Benji, Samson Benji from out of Germany, Lion Pride. And I want everyone to go and support the Brethren as a YouTube channel as well. So we want the family to go and support the Brethren page. Brethren is a musician doing some great works, and always, write some serious, always writing some very serious kind of vibration in terms of comments, let me read. I don't know if the item can see it, but I'm going to read it, and I'll stop and we'll comment, and I'll read in the comments. If you have any comments, just leave your comment there. All right. And this comment was left. If you haven't seen, last Wednesday we had a powerful reasoning with a brethren of mine, Rash Trey, and we were talking about reintegration on the continent. So if you haven't seen that episode, very powerful. I've known the brethren over 20 years now, and he's actually the brethren who found where I have land in Ghana. He's actually the brethren who found that region, scouted it, work out the initial deal with the landowners and things. So very important brethren in the history. Also fluent in Swahili and Amharic. All right, so this was my brother Samson Benji, Lion Pride, long-time Lion Pride member. Big up yourself. Again, go follow his page at Samson Benji. Powerful. All right, he said, this episode is now one of my favorite on this channel. I've watched most of them, and he's not lying, family, may I tell you, in faithful. Not just the topic, but also the guests, the substance, or if you will, the meat, not milk. There's so much more to be said about the topic of reintegration, and just by those teasers at the end of the episode, I know Rash Trey has so much more to share, and I love that. At that I said, big up Rash Trey. Unfortunately, your website seems to be down. Just wanted to mention that because I saw the link to it on Facebook, Instagram pages, in the live chat, and in the rider at the bottom of the screen. So Brethren is letting when you come on the Lion Pride, you have to make sure your stuff is there, because people will go there to support you, and we're building that culture here. Again, my vision is with our 40,000 members in the Lion Pride. Each of them give $10 to our guests. Then our guests leave the platform with almost $500,000. That's the power that we could have if we work united. That's my vision for the platform, is radical economic collective security, you know what I mean, where we can infuse capital in the workers of the movement, you know what I mean, to give them the money to build that Zion on earth that we all want to and talk about building. All right. Economics. He said, yes, there are books like 101 Ways to Make Money in Africa, which was published a decade ago. That is no excuse. It's easy to make money in Africa, a lot less regulations than in many, if not most, countries in the West. When in doubt, ask the Europeans, the Russians, the Indians, and the Chinese. In those cases, usually to the detriment of Africa. Time waits for no one. Over 8 billion people on this planet, everyone trying to thrive. 1.5 billion people in Africa, most a lot more motivated to better their lives than the average diasporian, and half of those under 18 years of age. Brethren is knowledgeable, all right? And him a bona fire. Africans wait for its creators, question mark. Well, the creators are springing up in Africa, and they have no time to wait. Kwasi mentioned some of these things. I love that question about the $1 billion, Kwasi. For my plans, I limit that to a couple 100,000, but I guess various amounts would be interesting. I feel anyone interviewed on your channel should have an immediate answer to that, because they all have a vision, and economics tends to be a limiting factor to most. The way I see it, that building and development should be all done in Africa, as much as ones in the West don't want to read that. Repatriation is a West, not building up something in the West. Know what a business plan is. And again, you would think this brethren was of African descent, but he see the vision, you know what I mean? And we give thanks. Family, yes, I heard Godman said bring wives to Africa, and I see the wise mind in that, because most are so disconnected from real Africa that marrying into African families could cause issues on many fronts. That was a topic that we touched with Ross Trey in terms of the sexual discipline and, you know, the importance of family structure. It was a great episode. If you haven't seen it, check it out. That's why I big up the walkers, not the talkers. Actions speak louder than words. That's how you know a real Rastafari from wolves in sheep clothing. Even your youths pick up on that hypocrisy of you preaching repatriation is a must all your lives, but never repatriating. And then you wonder why they turn their backs on Rastafari. Most make it look like a joke, a fairy tale, a cheap excuse for sloth. Who was Shashamani really for? For those who fought and assisted Ethiopia by deed, not by lip service. And, you know, a lot of white brethren who tried the liberty are fiery. And, you know, a lot of people, you know, would take issue with that because they're European. Toai fire is fire, you know what I mean? No, you have to be able, if you're a fireman, you have to be able to stand up in the fire same way, and realize that black people challenges are a lot different than the challenges that white people have. Our world perspective, how we interface with the world is different, just being based on us being black and being in the diaspora. So you have to realize that as well. But the brethren are burn a hot fire, you know what I mean? Because a lot of ones are saying repatriation and not making the move. And yes, the youths them do look at that and do see what you do as much as what you say. The brethren said, fast forward to now, and we're getting to the part about him being white and how he interact with the channel. But I want to just read, the brethren wrote an essay. I will give this a comment at the strong. We haven't done a comment at the strong in a while. So we'll give this a comment at the strong. The brethren wrote an essay, and I said, you know what, let me share it with the family, the Lion Pride. Because some people passionate about this platform, and I give thanks for that, because these things give I energy to continue to move forward, because sometimes it's lonely, you know what I mean? But when they read these type of comments, it really give I a joy. And the brethren said, fast forward to now. Africa, history and technology will remember those who say Ibrahim Traore now and what they did or didn't do to support. Your inaction will affect future generations, your children. Woda Maya made the trip to Burkina Faso and didn't get an interview with him. That says a lot the way I see it. So the brethren is on top of Pan-African affairs, not just this platform. When your man talk about Woda Maya, you know, saying plug in a certain way to what's happening on the continent. I often say I would like to be the Rastafari Woda Maya in the sense of traveling to different countries in Africa, visiting the Rastafari community and sharing that with the family. We're building to that where we'll do more travel vlogs and things of that nature. But the brethren is demonstrating his knowledge base, you know. It's not nothing that he has said so far is foolishness. Everything that he said is you know, I can't argue with it. You know what I mean? Even the argument about Rastafari being the mouthpiece for repatriation. Don't insult your ancestors. Now this is where it get ticklish. You know what I mean? Because I think, you know, I would take a little bit of different part in dealing with this part. He said even the argument about Rastafari being the mouthpiece for repatriation, don't insult your ancestors. Do you really think you are the first to come up with the idea of wanting to return home to Africa? Especially considering what your ancestors went through is so much more pressing than your situation in the West now. Many in the diaspora in the West live similar, if not better, situations than enough white trash and still don't move because they were superficially integrated and assimilated. They feel equal. That's an illusion. And every time someone else gets the promotion or one of your children is victimized by some police brutality, who is to blame? The only thing that I would take a different path is I don't think it's an insult for Rastafari to claim to be the remote Pete for repatriation. I think it's a historical fact in the modern era. Yes, there were always Africans, Garvey being one of the most prominent that advocated for the repatriation. But coming into the modern era, the loudest voice, the leading mouthpiece for repatriation is without a doubt Rastafari, and that is without apology. So that's the only piece. But in terms of the rest, where he's talking about, you know what I mean, people being in the West and it being an illusion and these things, I would tend to agree with some of that. And all of this comment can be found if you want to respond to the brethren under the video of Ras Trade. This is our live from Wednesday. If you go to the Lion Voice Network page and you click on the live, that's where you see the full episodes of the lives. They're all archived there. You have to click on the live to see the lives. They don't come up in the regular video feed. And you can leave a comment if you want to respond to any aspect of this. But the brethren is burning some hot fire, non-partial. The brethren said, I saw a couple of China-related comments in the live chat. Those comments usually come from people who have a very superficial knowledge of what's going on in China. Thank the Most High, you have the freedom to post those comments you do. You're more privileged than over 1 billion people and should be in Africa if you can drop comments like that. In the meantime, a white company thanks you for all the traffic you bring to its site. And he's talking about YouTube and the social media platforms. Just now, an ad popped up while watching this episode. A white dude advertising a GYST strategy. Get your S together. Enough said. And what he's talking about is the YouTube ads popping up. And that's part. We don't choose what ads come up. My channel is monetized. And when you watch it, that does help the channel. When you watch the ads, if you can skip them too. But when you watch or if you click through on the ad, that helps the channel. So if you do see a product and you like it and you click through and you go all the way to purchase that, all of those things help the channel. This is the landscape that we're in right now. And that monetization helps. It's not our main source of income. Our main source of income comes from our Lion Pride on Patreon. However, you know what I mean, we do give thanks for the patience dealing with the ads and them thing there. All right, moving on. He said, Kwasi and Trey, large up, maximum respect. Real workers, not talkers. Big up yourself, same way. Brethren, like the item, much like the few repatriates that the Rastafari movement has produced over the past century, give the movement any kind of legitimacy. The item are a lighthouse that Jah meant the entire movement to be. Again, I'm reminded of Haile Selassie words in Shashamani, where are my people? So the brethren is well versed and well, knowledgeable about Rastafari thing. But this last paragraph is what made me say I'm gonna share with the Lion Pride family, because him touch a card right here. So he said, I'm a white dude. And feel bad that only 35 people invest in Kwasi's works here. That's what kind of took me right there. So, when him said that, I said, wait, I have to talk about this with the Lion Pride family. He said, I'm a white dude and I feel bad that only 35 people invest in Kwasi's works here. The main reason I have spent something on the channel is because it's a Pan-African channel and I don't want anyone to feel like this channel somehow gets influenced by white money. Straight talk. I know there are people who have issues with such things, and whilst I don't respect it, I can understand it. That is what made me say, all right, we have to take it to the family, because no amount of white money can influence this platform. You know what I mean? And this is one of the reasons why we are going to the crowdfunding model, is because, if you are sponsor based, that is how the quote unquote white money, because most of the big companies that can write the big checks are going to be white owned companies. And if you say something that they want to censor or they cut their funding, then they mash up your platform, because now you have staff and they're subsidizing your platform by billing it on an audience, no matter if it's a lot of white people or not that are part of that audience. You are spreading the risk of any one thing that you say having that influence, because it's an audience, and the audience is here for the content that's being delivered. So I want to just dispel the brethren from that sound. And one thing about I is that I don't watch what other people say about I. You know what I mean? I know that there's a lot of talk. Anytime you put yourself up in front, I get some comments, sometimes from the peoples. They want to call you a clown. They want to say you don't know what you talk about. I don't mind, because I just like to go to their page or see what their work, or I ask them, please share your works with us so we can learn. And you never get anything forward. So you quickly realize that you have to move forward with what you're doing, because most of the people who are criticizing you don't have nothing for sure for themselves or for their life. So it doesn't make sense that you allow the criticism of others. Now, I do listen to constructive sounds, because wisdom is established in wise counsel. This is why we started the town hall meetings in the Patreon, so I can have ones who are invested in the platform who can reason and say, this is what I think, you know what I mean? And we can have that input and that kind of inner circle. So that is it. But I don't want my lion pride, whether you're European, whether you're Asian, whether you're indigenous, you know what I mean, in terms of your landmass, and you love the platform, don't bother feel like you're not supporting because you don't want to feel like the platform is, people would think the platform is being influenced, because why those people are not investing in the platform if they're concerned about the influence? You see what I'm saying? It don't make no sense. We can't let people who don't feel strong enough to invest dictate where the investment will come from. That don't make sense. So I want to dispel that from the reasoning, you know what I mean? And let the brethren know. If you want to support the platform, support the platform. Don't let nobody stop you from support the platform, you know what I mean? We are Pan-African. If you're just using it as a Sykes and you can't afford it, say that too, you know, because we're not demanding that people support financially. If you watch, that helps. You know, you like, you share, that helps. There's so many ways you can support. Yes, we do need the subscription support, but that is not the only way. So if you want to support the platform, brethren, support the platform. He said, let me read it again. He said, I'm a white dude and I feel bad that only 35 people invest in Kwasi's works here. The main reason I haven't spent something on this channel is because it's a Pan-African channel and I don't want anyone to feel like this channel somehow gets influenced by white money. Straight talk. I know there are people who have issues with such things, and while I don't respect it, I can understand it. That low number speaks volumes about whatever solidarity there is or isn't, though. Kwasi and his producer are putting in a lot of work into this channel, and I doubt the majority of these 39.3K realize just how much. 35 of 39,300, that is not even a tenth of a percent, not even per milli, part per thousand. It says a lot about the viewers of the Lion Voice Network, and it doesn't look good. That is what strike a chord, because we know, you know, the ratio is not beautiful. But the man pointed out, so, you know, you have something in your mind, but you're working through it. And then a man pointed out, touch a chord. But again, we're patient and we're diligent on the works. He's right. You know, my queen and I, we spend a lot of time working on the platform. Every day we try to drop content, and we love the support. But you know what I mean? This is the reality. And the brethren end up, he says, if Pan-Africans can't support such an effort, it says a lot about Pan-Africanism. And we're born you know, the ism and the schism. We are Pan-African. I am the Pan-African happy man, as a matter of fact. But of course, the ism part, I try avoid it. But the brethren say, who the cap fit? The workers are few. John knows his own. Stream of consciousness done. The man drop the mic and walk away from him computer. Him probably I'll kick over him chair after that. You know what I mean? Some big talk the man draw right there, so you know, family. What do the item think about what the brethren says? Is it valid? Let's have a reasoning. Drop a comment. Let me know what the item think about what the brethren wrote in his comment. It was an essay, you know, and the last paragraph was a very serious indictment on our audience, the Lion Pride. He took the Lion Pride to task, and I want to know how the item feel. But you know, the topic, you know, it made me say, should white people support African liberation? Because the premise is that he's not gonna, even though he's all up in Pan-African affairs and know it back and front, he's not gonna support because he's not Pan-African. To me, that don't make no sense, because of what others may say. I don't support that, but I wanted to just make that clear and make it public that I don't want the brethren feel that way. If you have it in your heart to support the platform, you see the work that's happening, support the platform. You know what I mean? Don't use what others are going to say as an excuse or a deterrent, because I could never give you that impression that I business what other people go and say. We're doing the work, and we know how we're doing, and we communicate to our audience to make it clear the work that we are doing. So we're not going to compromise. We're not going to water down the platform. But again, we're not going to tell our audience of European descent that they're not loved, that they're not welcome, that they're not a part of this uprising. Babylon divide and rule, we say divide and love. Divide those Europeans that are for the righteous cause, those Asians that are for a righteous cause. You know what I mean? Those South Americans that are for a righteous cause. They are righteous people in every nation, every creed and every tongue, and enough of them have already started to hail His Majesty and acknowledge the work and the powers of His Majesty. So this is a unity. This platform is a unity platform. Many other platforms will spring off of the inspiration of this platform, and we encourage that. But this platform is here to feed the root. Um, those of African descent. That's going to be the focus on the platform. Again, that doesn't mean you might not see ones from other um, nations, creeds, and tongues, depending on the topic, depending on what we're dealing with. But just know that the lane, the focus of this channel will always be Black African, Pan African, the uprising, the liberation, ensuring that Rastafari is in that conversation with the Pan African community, that we are connecting with the Pan African roots. You'll see Pan African scholars, all of those things on this platform. We had Dr. Garvey on the platform. We've had, Dr. Kwame from out of Trinidad on the platform, other Pan African voices. And we're going to continue to bring those forward on the platform. Again, making sure that Rastafari is in that Pan African conversation. You know what I mean? Akashic, he says, this is a brave reasoning. Essentially, every right Ras I know has wondered what their role is in the movement. And big up Akashic again. He's one of our Lion Pride on Patreon, and we've had this reasoning offline about the role of white Rastafari. I've had this, we have other brethren and sistren, and it's important because, you know what I mean, we have to have these reasonings in this time. It's the Armageddon, so transparency and thing. And I as I said, I have brethren from third grade, Italian brethren, a good brethren from third grade, you know what I mean, white brethren, work professionally with a whole heap of white people. We have gone through it, you know what I mean, from all angles. We've experienced racism, we've got through that, good, the bad, the ugly, all of these things, but at the same time, we know that the Almighty rules the hearts of mankind, you know what I mean? Haile Selassie is the Almighty, we don't have no doubt. So when we see ones that come to serve Him in truth and in right, those are our family, those are our brothers in arms, you know what I mean? We never turn our back on them, you know what I mean? When they join with I, we only become stronger. However, we know our lane. I lane is to build the road. You know what I mean? Again, blackness. And we'll never apologize for that. We never seek to diminish. That's part of the problem with oppression, is that we had to minimize our blackness. We had to try to assimilate. We had to code switch. We had to do all of these things to fit into a Babylonian system that dehumanized I. So in this hour where Babylon is falling, you think we're going to water down and to try fit into? No. This is the platform where you're going to see the grassroots Black Rastafari to the PhD Rastafari to the every type of Black Rastafari, because we are showing the world now what we have become in spite of the oppression, in spite of the degradation. We are showing that we have conquered. The Lion of Judah has prevailed to open the book and to loose the seven seals thereof. So we don't have no apology about that. But we're not going to see a white person and discriminate them. No. You know what I mean? But I have to big up the black people. I have to defend the black family. I have to encourage my youths them to find a black woman or a black man to continue. Anything with value has to be preserved. So I have to work to preserve blackness. I'm a Naya Bingi man. You know what I mean? Naya Bingi. We're serious about defending the integrity of blackness. You know what I mean? You can come on the harps if you're from another nation in the Naya Bingi. You know what I mean? If it's truly being held, that don't mean that you're not welcome to come and jump the Naya Bingi. But it's the same thing if I go to a Muslim temple, I can't just go up there and join the service with them. I come and I pray. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. It's not discriminatory. It's preservation of heritage and ensuring that the blackness continued down from generation to generation in its blackest form. You know what I mean? There are some that choose interracial um, lifestyle. I never talk against those ones. You know, that's their decision. That's between them and the creator, you know. Bob Marley was created through that. The other ones created through them union. So I am not qualified for deal with that. But when you see you're gonna see I with my black wife, you're gonna see my black youth them, and my parents are the same thing. You know what I mean? The blackness preserved from generation to generation, and that we defend from morning until evening. You know, so we're not getting into people's bedroom, but I would encourage our youths them to uphold the blackness. You know what I mean? Those are the teachings that we have in my house, because black is worth preserving. You know what I mean? So we are going to have that reasoning. You know what I mean? And that is what we're doing here, is that we are encouraging our black Rastafari to rise up, to spend with each other, because we have the problem. If we solve that, you see what the brethren say? When he max out, we're almost at 40,000 in the Lion Pride and only 35 people supporting the Patreon, which is less than percent of a percent. Yes, we know that. But why is that? Because, and I used to think it was because we're Pan-African and I follow a Pan-African channel, and the brethren did his Patreon. He launched his Patreon at 100 people in a day, and he has less subscribers than I. And I said, wow. But then Rastafari, on top of Pan-African, is a whole different niche of people where a lot of us as Rastafari just even coming on technology. We do it. And I know that because once Carly, big up Rasmaki, I'm going to just think our latest Ubuntu. I have to walk him through Alfie thing and him getting Queen to deal with it and give thanks. But most of us are not on technology like that, and I understand that as well. So I don't use it as a judgment, but I know it's going to take longer to get that support. But it's something to consider. You know, why as Rastafari does it take us so long to support each other, even though we get flooded with comments from our family around the world, and ones that say, boy, don't stop and do what you're doing. However, they have not signed up to support the vibration, even though we've been trying to get 100 people in the Patreon for over a year. These are things that I consider, but again, I think I have unique gifts. I'm patient, I'm steady, and we're not going to stop. So we continue knowing that there will come a time, and when we as the black Rastafari come together and we spend our dollar with each other, that's when you're going to see the shift in creation. And I feel like it's coming, you know what I mean? And reasoning, our town hall meeting that we just had, even though we do have Lion Pride and Patron of European descent, everyone there were black, Rastafari majority. And, the energy was very high, and the ones them see the vision. So I know it's just the like mind. It take a little while for us to get going, but once we're going, we're unstoppable. You know what I mean? So that is what I take from that. So should white people support African liberation? Of course, because when Africa is free, it's going to set the example for the entire world to be free. Should white people support the Lion Voice Network? Of course, because when this platform rise, I guarantee you will see a change in the Rastafari movement globally. The impact will be felt because we will actively be investing in the community, building institutions, covering different things which will inspire others to do more works. It's a spiral, the power of media. This is why when foreign governments try to take over a country under nefarious means, they infiltrate the media. Media is so powerful. And saying that, make sure you are subscribed. We're getting ready to launch our newsletter just in case we get taken down from YouTube or we lose YouTube. The newsletter will make sure you know where we are, where we can find us. So go to the website and subscribe so you can get the newsletter, or you can go to our Patreon and subscribe, and we'll have your email and you'll be added to the list. Our first edition of the newsletter is going to come out in June. I'm excited about it. Been working on it for some time now. So the Lion Voice will have its own newsletter. Again, we're building our community, and we want to make sure it's not just depending on one platform. Because right now in the Gideon, you say the wrong thing, YouTube just lock off your whole platform. You know what I mean? And you're done. So we're building, making sure. We're also going to be doing some work with Rastafari TV. Big up Sister Fonai if you're not familiar with Rastafari TV. That is the largest Rastafari website aggregate. You know what I mean? When I say I'm the fastest growing Rastafari platform, I'm really referring to the YouTube space. Rastafari TV has its own infrastructure, and their monthly traffic, I believe, is in the millions. So we're going to be partnering, doing some more things. You'll see Lion Voice over there. Get ready for them thing. They will have Sister Fanai coming forward on the platform. If you haven't seen her interview, check it out under the live videos. She's going to be coming forward as they're getting ready to relaunch Rastafari TV. We have big things going on. I've been reasoning with a lot of our Rastafari independent non-aligned media, so look out for more collaborations happening. Again, our rising as Lion Voice Networking is not just us. You're going to see the whole movements, because I have been on the front line of Rastafari works for over 20 years. And so the network is vast, you know what I mean? And when we are rising, it's not just for I and I, it's for the community having a platform where they can come and share the wonderful works, their goods and their services, and for the audience to know they have an audience that will spend their money with them. That is what we're building. We're building an ecosystem that will feed other ecosystems. So this is not a short-term work. This is not a sprint. This is a long-distance marathon. Ethiopia, we're full of the long-distance runners. So any comments? Let me know. Those who are watching live, what do you think about white people in the movement supporting, not supporting? Should they just be on the sideline looking and saying, boy, watch that nice Pan-African platform. I wonder if the black people are going to support it. I'm not going to touch it because I'm a white man. Or should they be active and support the platform if they think it's a positive platform? Let us know in the comments. This is, as the brethren say, one of those topics that very touchy. And I know that this one will generate a lot of conversation across the movement globally. But this is where we are, What does Zion on earth look like? What does that unification look like when we as black people win the victory? Are we going to be exclusionary? We don't want no other nations in Africa. That was not His Majesty's vision. His Majesty's vision was an Africa controlled by Africans that was open, where people could come from all around the world, and we could go all around the world and share on the beauty of this planet that we call Earth, hurling through the universe. This beautiful planet, Zion, landscape, you know what I mean, that we have been bestowed by the Creator to live our days. So, what do the item think? Let I know. Very, very important. Johnny Johnson said, very good reasoning. No money should be refused on come with any favors, Babylonian loot. No race should be excluded due to their geographic or origination. And this is the policy, of the Lionverse Network. We're not refusing no money, king. So as long as the item come individually true, we're not going to take money from organizations that we don't agree with, who want to exert influence. That we would have turned down. But you come as an individual and you love the platform, come and ride up. As long as you behave yourself, you're welcome. All praises due to the Most High, Jah, Rastafari, model car 1589, long time I haven't seen there. I big up all the California family. Black Lives Matter movement was totally funded by a white Bulgarian Ashkenazi Sephardic Jew billionaire. And, I'm not a Black Lives Matter person. You know what I mean? I like the principle, yeah, but in terms of the movement, we have to be very careful. You know what I mean? We're not aligned and we stay not aligned. That's why we say Rastafari independent, not aligned media, because we're very careful who we align ourselves with. Our alignment is Kadamawe Haile Selassie the first, and his chosen Queen Empress was Zero Benin, and that's how we think there. Do we have any other comments, questions before we seal up? This is Lion Voice Live. Stay tuned. We're going to announce our Wednesday guest. We have a special interview going to drop for the 40,000 subscriber mark. We're going to hit 40,000 probably by Monday morning. So 40,000, 35 in the Patreon. It look away, but we're not embarrassed. We're working. And for all of the young brethren, don't make what people say stop you from doing your work. You know what I mean? That is one of the things that killed vision and killed dream. You know what I mean? When I started it, I went a whole year before I had even one person in the Patreon almost. You know what I mean? So if you believe, if you know, if you're confident, then do the work. The Most High will send in the ones there. I'm accountable to the Almighty. The Almighty will put it on the hearts of the ones them to support the platform. That is how I look at it. I just have to show up and do my work, refine it. Maybe it's something that I'm not doing right. Maybe the messaging is wrong. Maybe, I don't blame the audience. I have to rise because I have the vision and I have to make it manifest. And that's how all of us should be looking at our purpose and our vision. Do the work, and seek the excellence, and the results will come. 35 is more than 0, is more than 1, is more than 2, is more than 10. And it's 35 solid brethren and sistren. So we give thanks for the 35, even though we're looking to get to the 100. Give thanks for each and every one who support the platform. And we're not going to stop. Why? Because the time has come for the lions to tell our own story. And this is the Lion's Voice.
It is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the Lion's Voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use I as an instrument to set the people free. Jah give her the powers to chant. Jah give her the powers to chant. Rastafari, the Lion's Voice.
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it takes the dust. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the Lion's Voice.
Yes, job people, this is Michael Shemai representing. I will say, hear the lion voice, saying it is time for the lions and the lionesses to tell their own story. King David killed Goliath with a stone, we original dread.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice. Rastafari.
It's AWTITUDE representing for Lion's Voice. Yes, massive. This is the time for I and I, the lion them to tell I and I story, our story. Yes, and we reign and rule like this. Reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, I reign and rule. You can't take the lion vibes, people. If you no fool, cause we know Selassie reign and rule. Reign and rule. Selassie, I reign and rule. Queen Omega drop them in the fire, pull from them, no Queen Omega, she reign and rule. Royal Kushite, ancient essence, Emperor Selassie in a majestical presence, flash of all sevens, projecting through I and I events. We sing a song for the king, we bring joy and blessing and overstanding, yeah. We hear Jah every day, hey. Reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, reign and rule. Yes, I lion vibes, Selassie, reign and rule. Attitude say that Boondocks, Black Organization of Global Diplomats optimizing expressions to the world. Till the world, till the end.
Amina, the time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jaja soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up Lamb's voice. Now put it, I Jollifer said that.
I will never stop, hail the Most High, and I will never stop, call Rastafari. Blessed love, this is Kushite representing for the Lion's Voice. We are here to tell our own story, Rastafari.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Person. I'm saying hail to the lion voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Oh, yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.